The grand chamber on Prime gleamed with light from 1,000 distant stars. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in their designated sections, each species proud and secure in their place within the Galactic Council. For 300 years, they had maintained order among the stars. Their fleets were powerful. Their technology was advanced. Their authority was absolute. Ambassador stood before the council, his scaled skin reflecting the chamber's blue light. He held a data tablet that showed strange energy readings. The other ambassadors barely looked at him as he began to speak. "Esteemed council members, we have detected unusual activity in the Sol system," said, his voice steady but urgent. "The patterns suggest advanced technology, possibly military in nature. I believe we should investigate immediately." A wave of dismissive sounds rippled through the chamber. Commander, a tall warrior from the species, stood from her seat. Her 4 arms crossed over her armored chest as she addressed the council. "Ambassador brings us tales of ghosts," said, her voice filled with contempt. "The Sol system is dead. Earth destroyed itself centuries ago in nuclear fire. Our ancestors recorded their primitive wars, their hatred for each other. They were a violent, self-destructive species that never learned to unite. There is nothing there but radioactive dust and ruins." Other council members nodded in agreement. The historical records were clear. Earth had been quarantined after early observations showed humanity on the brink of self-annihilation. When scout ships stopped receiving any signals from the planet 200 years ago, the case was closed. Humanity had joined the long list of species that destroyed themselves before reaching the stars. Tried again, but these energy signatures are not natural, they indicate sensor errors, interrupted another ambassador. The Sol system is in a region with unusual cosmic radiation. Your readings are meaningless. The vote was called. The council decided not to investigate, returned to his seat, frustrated but not surprised. The council had grown comfortable in their power. They saw themselves as the pinnacle of civilization. The thought that a supposedly dead species might challenge their understanding was impossible for them to accept. Far from Prime, in the lawless Outer Rim territories, Captain guided his pirate fleet through an asteroid field. His ships were old and battered, cobbled together from stolen parts and salvaged wreckage, but had something most pirates lacked: ambition and a keen eye for opportunity. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," his navigator called out. "The old star charts show this region as empty space, but our sensors are picking up a structure." Leaned forward in his command chair, put it on screen. The flickered to life, showing a massive station floating beside a dead moon. The structure was unlike anything had seen in his 40 years of raiding across the galaxy. It was sleek, angular, and clearly designed by a species with sophisticated engineering knowledge. But it was dark, seemingly abandoned. "Life signs?" asked. "None, Captain. The station appears to be in standby mode. Minimal power readings." Smiled. An abandoned station filled with unknown technology was exactly the kind of prize that could make a pirate wealthy beyond imagination. "Prepare boarding parties. Let's see what treasures wait inside." The pirates moved through the station's corridors with weapons drawn, expecting traps or defense systems. But everything was quiet. Emergency lighting provided a dim glow as they explored room after room filled with equipment they didn't recognize. The technology was advanced, possibly even beyond council level. In what appeared to be a control room, tech specialist managed to activate a console. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing data in a language none of them could read. But the specialist worked quickly, using translation algorithms to decode the information. "Captain, you need to see this," the specialist said, his voice shaking. "These logs, they're dated 500 years ago, and the language, it's Earth Standard English." Felt his blood run cold. "That's impossible, Earth is dead." "The logs say this is Sentinel Station 773. It's part of a defensive network. Captain, according to this database, there are thousands of these stations surrounding the Sol system. More information appeared on the screens. Weapons specifications that made Council military technology look primitive. Energy shields that operated on principles their scientists had never conceived. And ship designs, hundreds of different classes of warships, each one more advanced than the last. "What kind of species builds something like this and then hides it?" whispered. The answer came from a final log entry written by someone named Commander Park. "The galaxy is not ready for us. We have observed their wars, their empires built on conquest and domination. We choose to wait. We will watch. We will learn. And if the day comes when the galaxy needs us or when it threatens us, we will be ready. Until then, Earth sleeps behind its shield of sentinels." Made a decision that would change the galaxy. He ordered his crew to load every piece of portable technology onto their ships. Weapons, power cores, data cores, everything they could carry. As his fleet departed, they left the Sentinel station damaged and exposed, its location now known to anyone with the right sensors. On Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral sat in the Central Command Facility. The room around her was vast, filled with holographic displays showing every corner of the solar system. Thousands of officers worked at their stations, monitoring sensor networks that humanity had built over 3 centuries. A priority alert flashed across her main display. One of the Sentinel stations had been breached. Data had been stolen. For the first time in 300 years, human technology was in the hands of outsiders. Studied the information with calm, calculating eyes. She had trained for this moment, as had her predecessors stretching back generations. Every admiral who sat in this chair knew that someday, humanity's isolation would end. The only question was how. She touched her command console, opening a secure channel to the global assembly. President appeared on the screen, her expression grave as she received the report. "Your recommendation, Admiral?" the President asked. "We wake the Guardians," replied. "Humanity has been patient long enough. It's time to remind the galaxy who we are." Across the solar system, signals went out to hundreds of locations. Behind the rings of Saturn, massive shapes began to move. In the asteroid belt, rock and ice fell away from structures hidden for centuries. Near Jupiter's moons, power cores that had been dormant for generations came back to life. The Guardian fleet was awakening. Ships emerged from their hiding places, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. They had waited in silence while the galaxy forgot about Earth. They had remained hidden while the Council grew arrogant in their power. But now, someone had taken what belonged to humanity. And the Forgotten Protector was about to show the galaxy what happened when you disturbed the sleeping giant. In her command center, Admiral watched the fleet status reports come in. Ship after ship reported ready for action. Their captains were eager, their crews well-trained despite never having seen real combat. Humanity had prepared for this day with the patience and thoroughness that defined their species. "Send a message to Captain of the Indomitable," ordered. "Tell him to prepare for launch. His ship will be our first response." As the orders went out, Earth continued its daily life above her. Billions of people went about their business in gleaming cities, unaware that their long isolation was about to end. They didn't know that their protectors were stirring, that ships built by their ancestors were preparing for war. The galaxy thought humanity was extinct. They were about to learn the truth, and that truth would shake the foundations of every empire, every council, every species that thought they understood how the universe worked. The Forgotten Protector was rising, and nothing would ever be the same again. Captain stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by weapons and equipment stolen from the Sentinel station. His tech specialists had spent weeks studying the human technology, slowly figuring out how to make it work. What they learned filled them with both excitement and fear. The weapons were devastating. A single human particle beam could cut through Council military shields like they didn't exist. The power cores produced energy at levels that seemed impossible. Even the basic targeting systems were more accurate than anything the galaxy had ever seen. His first officer approached him with a nervous expression. "Captain, we've successfully installed 3 of the human weapons on our ships. The power requirements are enormous, but we've managed to integrate them with our existing systems." "Good," said, his mind racing with possibilities. "With these weapons, we're no longer just pirates. We're a force to be reckoned with." But power changes people, and not always for the better. Looked at the star charts, his eyes settling on a council colony world called IV. It was wealthy, poorly defended, and home to 15 million civilians. In the past, such a target would have been suicide to attack, but now, with human weapons, believed he was invincible. "Set course for IV," he ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what we can do." His crew exchanged worried glances, but no one dared to question the captain. The pirate fleet entered faster than light travel, heading toward a decision that would start a chain of events no one could have predicted. IV was a peaceful world. Its inhabitants were traders and farmers, people who had never known war. Their planetary defense system was minimal, designed only to ward off small-scale threats. Once fleet appeared in orbit, the colony's defenders activated their shields and sent out distress calls. The battle was horrifically one-sided. Human particle beams tore through the planetary shields in seconds. Defense platforms exploded under the assault. Within minutes, the colony was defenseless, and ships began targeting population centers. As buildings burned and people died, a single message managed to get through to the Galactic Council. "Under attack. Unknown weapons. Technology beyond anything we've seen. Death count rising. Please help." On Prime, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Commander stood before the emergency session, her 4 arms gesturing emphatically as she addressed the gathered representatives. "This attack is an outrage," declared. "Some pirate scum has gotten lucky with stolen technology, and now they think they can challenge the Council's authority. I propose we send the Third Fleet to crush them immediately." Ambassador stood up, his voice cutting through the commotion. "Commander, the weapons signatures from IV match exactly the energy readings I reported from the Sol system. This is not coincidence. This is human technology." "Impossible," snapped. "Humans are extinct. These weapons were probably found in some ancient cache. It changes nothing. The Third Fleet will locate these pirates, destroy them, and recover the technology for study." The Council voted unanimously to deploy the Third Fleet. 200 warships, the pride of the Council's military might, prepared for departure. Their crews were veterans of numerous conflicts. Their ships were equipped with the best weapons and shields the galaxy had to offer. They had never faced an enemy they couldn't defeat. In Earth's Central Command, Admiral watched the Council's fleet movements with quiet intensity. Beside her stood President, who had come personally to oversee humanity's first military action in 3 centuries. "The pirates have killed 15 million innocent people," President said softly. "And now the Council sends their fleet, unaware of what they're walking into." "We cannot let human technology remain in pirate hands," Admiral replied. "And we cannot let the Council think they can simply take what is ours. This situation requires a precise response." She touched her command console, bringing up the profile of a ship and its captain. "The Indomitable, commanded by Captain. He's our best tactical officer. His ship is a stealth destroyer, equipped with our most advanced systems." "One ship against pirates and possibly 200 Council warships?" President asked. Admiral smiled slightly. "One of our ships, Madam President, that's all we'll need." In orbit above Mars, the Indomitable powered up its systems. Captain sat in his command chair, reviewing his orders. He was a young officer by Earth standards, only 45 years old, but he had trained his entire life for this moment. Every simulation, every exercise had prepared him to take humanity's technology into battle. "All systems green, Captain," his tactical officer reported. "Stealth field is at maximum efficiency. They won't see us coming." "Plot a course for the nebula," ordered. "That's where the pirates will run when they see the Council fleet, and that's where we'll be waiting." The Indomitable vanished from sensors as its stealth systems activated. To any observer, the ship simply ceased to exist. It slipped away from Mars like a ghost, moving through space faster than anything the Council had ever built. Days later, in the swirling gases of the nebula, Captain found himself trapped. His fleet had fled from IV after completing their raid, but the Council's third fleet had tracked them. 200 Council warships surrounded the nebula, cutting off all escape routes. Commander's voice came over all frequencies. "Pirate vessels, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately and you will be shown mercy. Resist and you will be destroyed." Laughed bitterly. He had hoped the human weapons would make him powerful enough to fight back, but even he knew his small fleet couldn't defeat 200 warships. He was preparing to surrender when his sensors detected something strange. "Captain, unknown vessel appearing directly between our position and the Council fleet," his sensor officer called out. On every ship, the Indomitable became visible as it dropped its stealth field. The ship was sleek and predatory, its design unlike anything in the known galaxy. It was smaller than a Council battleship, but radiated an aura of barely contained power. A new voice came over the communications channels. Captain spoke in clear, measured tones. "This is Captain of the Earth vessel Indomitable. The pirate vessels are carrying stolen human technology and have committed crimes using our weapons. They will be dealt with by human authority. All other vessels will withdraw immediately." On the bridge of her flagship, Commander stared at the screen in disbelief. "Earth vessel, this is impossible. Earth is dead." "You were misinformed," replied calmly. "This is your only warning. Withdraw now." Felt rage building inside her. One ship, one small vessel, dared to challenge the might of the Third Fleet. She had spent her entire career building a reputation as an undefeated commander. She would not be humiliated by ghosts from a dead world. "All ships open fire on both the pirates and the Earth vessel," ordered. "Destroy them all." 200 warships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma weapons filled space with deadly light. It was enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The Indomitable moved. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The human ship dodged through the incoming fire with impossible grace. Its engines produced acceleration that should have crushed any living crew. Its shields absorbed hits that would have vaporized lesser vessels. And then it began to return fire. Human weapons lanced out with precise, calculated fury. Each shot found its target. Council warships exploded or went dark as their power systems were surgically disabled. The Indomitable moved through the Council formation like a shark through a school of fish, its weapons never missing, its shields never failing. Captain sat calmly in his command chair, giving orders in a quiet voice while his crew worked with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this. They knew exactly what their ship could do. Within 4 minutes, 30 Council warships were destroyed. 50 more were crippled, drifting in space with their crews desperately trying to restore power. The rest of the Third Fleet was in complete disarray. "All ships retreat," Commander screamed into her communication system. "Full retreat." The Council fleet broke formation and fled, leaving their damaged vessels behind. As they escaped into faster-than-light travel, the Indomitable turned its attention to the pirate fleet. Captain didn't even try to run. He knew it was pointless. One by one, his ships were destroyed by precise strikes that left no survivors. The stolen human technology was obliterated, ensuring it could never be used again. When it was over, Captain sent a message to the fleeing Council fleet. "Tell your leaders that Earth remembers. Tell them we have been watching. And tell them that if they wish to talk, we will listen. But if they wish to fight, they have now seen what awaits them." The Indomitable reactivated its stealth field and vanished, leaving behind the wreckage of a battle that would change the galaxy forever. On Prime, when the survivors of the Third Fleet returned, they brought with them recordings of the battle. The Council watched in stunned silence as a single human ship destroyed or disabled 30% of their fleet in less than 5 minutes. Commander stood before the Council, her confidence shattered. "Earth lives," she said quietly, "and they are far beyond anything we imagined." The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On 1,000 worlds, people watched the battle recordings. The Council's image of invincibility was destroyed in those 4 minutes, and everyone asked the same question. If one human ship could do this, what could an entire fleet do? In Earth Central Command, Admiral received Captain's report. The mission was a complete success. The stolen technology was recovered and destroyed. The pirates were eliminated, and the galaxy now knew that humanity was not extinct. "Well done," Captain said. "Return home. Something tells me we're going to need the Indomitable again very soon." President stood beside her, watching the displays that showed reactions from across the galaxy. "We've announced our presence. Now comes the hard part, dealing with the consequences." "Yes, Madam President," Admiral agreed. "The galaxy is watching, and they're afraid. The question is, what will they do with that fear?" The answer would come sooner than anyone expected. The aftermath of the Battle of Nebula spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every news network, every communication channel, every diplomatic frequency carried the same shocking footage. A single Earth vessel had destroyed 30 Council warships and crippled 50 more in 4 minutes. The impossible had happened. Humanity was not only alive, but possessed technology generations beyond anything the galaxy had seen. On Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber that once rang with confident authority now filled with nervous whispers and fearful debates. Representatives from dozens of species argued about what to do. Some demanded immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few quietly wondered if it was time to make peace with their own mortality. Ambassador stood before the Council, his earlier warnings now vindicated but bringing him no satisfaction. "Honored members, we must approach this situation with wisdom, not panic. Earth has demonstrated defensive capability, yes, but they have not shown aggressive intent. They destroyed pirates who stole their technology and threatened us when we attempted to interfere. This seems reasonable." "Reasonable," shouted a representative from the Confederacy. "They humiliated our finest fleet. They have made the Council look weak before the entire galaxy." "Then perhaps," replied calmly, "we should consider why we appear weak. Perhaps it is because we have grown arrogant in our power and blind to the possibility that other species might surpass us." The debate raged for hours. Finally, the Council reached a decision. They would send a diplomatic envoy to Earth. Ambassador volunteered to lead the mission, arguing that his earlier attempts to warn the Council showed good faith toward humanity. The Council reluctantly agreed. But not everyone supported diplomacy. In the Military Command Center, War Marshal watched the Council's proceedings with growing anger. He was the supreme commander of the Armada, the largest and most powerful military force in the Council. His species had built their reputation on martial prowess and tactical genius. The humiliation of the Third Fleet was a personal insult. "They destroyed our ships with contemptuous ease," said to his gathered officers. "They made us look like children playing with toys. This cannot stand." His chief tactical officer stepped forward. "War Marshal, the humans clearly possess superior technology. A direct military confrontation might be unwise." His eyes blazed. "Superior technology can be overcome with superior numbers and strategy. We have 12,000 warships available across Council space. We have warriors from 100 worlds. Earth has what? A few hundred ships hiding in their solar system. We will crush them through sheer force. And if we fail, another officer dared to ask. Then we fail, replied coldly. But I will not live in a galaxy where humanity stands above us. Better to die fighting than to bow to a species we thought extinct. He began issuing orders to mobilize the Grand Fleet, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. On Earth, President addressed the Global Assembly in a secure chamber deep beneath Geneva. The assembly represented every nation, every culture, every group of humanity. For 3 centuries, they had governed Earth in harmony, united by their shared isolation from the galaxy. The time has come to reveal ourselves fully, said to the gathered representatives. The galaxy knows we exist. They know we are technologically advanced, but they do not know why we chose isolation or what we hope for the future. Holographic displays showed the assembly everything that had happened: the pirate attack, the Council fleet's defeat, the messages spreading across the galaxy. Some showed fear, others showed anger, and a few showed something else: hope. When our ancestors first achieved faster-than-light travel, they explored the galaxy with excitement, continued. But what they found disappointed them. They saw the Galactic Council, which claimed to maintain peace but actually enforced dominance. They saw species exploited for their resources. They saw wars fought over pride and territory. They saw a galaxy that had achieved advanced technology but not advanced wisdom. She paused, letting her words sink in. Our ancestors made a choice. They decided to withdraw, to hide, to build in secret while we watched and learned. We studied every species, every culture, every conflict. We asked ourselves, what kind of civilization do we want to be? What can we offer the galaxy that it doesn't already have? And what answer did we find? Asked one assembly member. That power without wisdom is destruction, replied. That technology without ethics is catastrophe. That we could build the strongest weapons in the galaxy, but that alone would not make us great. We needed to become something better than what we saw among the stars. The assembly voted. Earth would engage in diplomacy but would also prepare for the possibility of war. They would offer the galaxy a chance to change, to build something better than the Council's enforced peace. But if that offer was refused, if the galaxy chose violence, then humanity would respond with all the power they had spent 3 centuries building. Admiral received new orders. The Guardian fleet would maintain defensive positions, but the Sentinel network would be fully activated. Every hidden weapons platform, every concealed defense station, every secret facility would come online. Earth's solar system would become the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Ambassador's small diplomatic vessel approached the outer edge of Earth's solar system. His ship was unarmed and broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. Even so, he felt nervous. What kind of civilization had humanity become during their long isolation? His sensors detected something approaching. A large vessel appeared on his screens, its design elegant and clearly human. A communication channel opened, and a woman's face appeared. She wore a formal uniform and had kind but intelligent eyes. "Ambassador," Commander said with a slight smile, "welcome to Earth's solar system. I am Commander of the Diplomatic Corps. Please follow my ship. We have prepared a location for our meeting." His vessel followed the human ship deeper into the solar system. As they traveled, his sensors picked up massive structures hidden in the asteroid belt, behind planetary rings, orbiting gas giants. Earth had indeed been building for centuries, and what they had built was staggering. They arrived at a space station orbiting between Earth and Mars. The station was enormous, a beautiful structure of metal and glass that seemed to float in space like a work of art. Shuttle docked, and he stepped into the station with wonder. The interior was nothing like any military vessel or diplomatic facility he had seen. There were gardens with real trees and flowing water. The corridors were wide and filled with natural light. Art decorated the walls, paintings and sculptures from human history. It felt more like a palace than a military installation. Commander met him in a conference room with windows showing Earth below. The planet was beautiful, covered in green continents and blue oceans. Cities glowed on the night side, sprawling across landscapes but leaving vast areas of wilderness untouched. "Your world is remarkable," said honestly. "The Council's record said Earth destroyed itself in nuclear fire." Nodded. "We came close, Ambassador. Centuries ago we nearly did destroy ourselves, but we learned from those mistakes. We unified, we chose a different path." "Why did you hide?" asked. "With technology like yours, you could have joined the galaxy long ago." "Because we saw what the galaxy was," replied. "We watched the Council enforce their peace through military might. We saw species exploited and wars fought over resources. We asked ourselves if we wanted to be part of that system." "And your answer was no." "Our answer was not yet," corrected. "We needed time to become something better, to develop not just advanced technology but advanced wisdom, to create a civilization that could offer the galaxy an alternative to the Council's way." They talked for hours, explained humanity's vision for a galaxy where species cooperated as equals rather than being dominated by the strongest, where conflicts were resolved through diplomacy and mutual understanding rather than military force, where technology was shared to uplift everyone rather than hoarded for power. Listened and felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. "This is a beautiful dream, Commander, but dreams are fragile things. Even now, War Marshal is mobilizing the Grand Fleet. 12,000 warships will soon be heading toward your solar system." His expression remained calm. "We know. Our intelligence networks detected the mobilization within hours of it beginning. We have been tracking every ship, every communication, every strategic planning session." "You're not afraid?" asked surprised. "We're human, Ambassador. Of course we're afraid, but fear doesn't control us. We have prepared for this possibility for 300 years. She stood and walked to the window, looking down at Earth. "That planet represents everything we value: our families, our history, our dreams for the future. We will defend it with everything we have." "The Grand Fleet is the largest military force in galactic history," warned. "Then it will be the largest military force ever defeated," replied quietly. "We don't want this war, Ambassador. We would much rather build friendships than fight battles. But if War Marshal brings his fleet to our home, he will learn what it means to face humanity when we defend what we love." Looked at this human woman and saw absolute conviction in her eyes. No bravado, no false confidence, just calm certainty. For the first time, he truly understood what the Council faced: not just advanced technology, but a species that had spent centuries preparing for exactly this moment. "What would you have me tell the Council?" asked. "Tell them the truth," said. "Tell them that Earth offers friendship to all who come in peace. Tell them we seek no empire, no domination, no conquest. We simply want to be left alone to live as we choose. But also tell them this: if they send their Grand Fleet against us, they will regret it for generations." Ambassador returned to his ship with much to think about. As he departed Earth's solar system, he sent a message to the Council detailing everything he had learned. He urged them to recall the Grand Fleet, to seek peace rather than war. But War Marshal ignored the message. His pride was wounded, his authority was challenged, and he was convinced that superior numbers would overcome superior technology. The Grand Fleet continued its advance toward Earth, unaware that they were not sailing toward victory but toward a lesson in humility that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Grand Fleet assembled in the darkness between stars, a sight that would have terrified any civilization in the galaxy. 12,000 warships from 100 different worlds, united under War Marshal's command. From massive dreadnoughts carrying enough firepower to destroy planets to swift cruisers and countless fighter craft, the fleet represented the combined military might of the Galactic Council. On the flagship Divine Wrath, War Marshal addressed his commanders through holographic communication. Each face showed determination and confidence. They were veterans of countless battles, warriors who had crushed rebellions and defeated enemies across the galaxy. "We stand at a moment that will define our era," declared, his voice resonating with authority. "Earth has embarrassed the Council. They have made us appear weak before every species that watches us. Today, we correct that mistake. Today, we show the galaxy that the Council's power is absolute." His tactical officer displayed a battle plan. "We will enter Earth's solar system in full force formation. Our numbers will overwhelm their defenses. Intelligence suggests they have fewer than 2,000 warships. Even if each of their ships matches 5 of ours, we still have overwhelming advantage." "What about their weapons platforms?" one commander asked. "Ambassador's report mentioned extensive defensive installations." Waved dismissively. "Stationary targets. Our long-range bombardment will clear them systematically. The humans have made their system into a fortress, but every fortress can be broken with sufficient force." The commanders nodded, convinced by his confidence. They had never lost a major battle. The idea of defeat seemed impossible. The Grand Fleet began its journey toward Earth, confident in their numerical superiority. On Earth, Admiral stood in Central Command watching the Grand Fleet's approach on her displays. Every ship was tracked, every movement recorded. Around her, thousands of officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. There was no panic, no fear, only focused preparation. President entered the command center, accompanied by the leaders of the Global Assembly. They had come to witness what their ancestors had prepared for over 3 centuries. "The Grand Fleet will reach our solar system in 6 hours, Admiral reported. "They're maintaining a tight formation. War Marshal clearly expects a conventional battle." "And we're going to give him something very different," said quietly. Pulled up a display showing Earth's solar system. "For 300 years we've been building, not just ships but a complete defensive network. The Sentinel stations were only our outermost layer. Now they'll see everything." She pointed to different locations on the display. "The asteroid belt contains 2,000 automated weapons platforms. Each one is equipped with targeting systems that can track hundreds of ships simultaneously. Jupiter's moons hide mass drivers that can accelerate projectiles to 20% of light speed. Saturn's rings conceal electronic warfare stations capable of jamming entire fleets. And the cloud," she smiled slightly, "the cloud is where things get interesting." "How many weapon systems total?" asked one assembly leader. "Enough," replied simply. "Our entire solar system is the weapon, and War Marshal is about to fly his fleet directly into it." The Guardian Fleet, 2,000 human warships, held position in a defensive sphere around Earth and Mars. To outside observers, the formation looked cautious, even defensive. Council military analysts transmitted their assessments back to the Grand Fleet. "Enemy appears to be adopting a defensive posture. They lack confidence to meet us in open space." War Marshal read the reports with satisfaction. "They're afraid. Good. Fear will make them easier to defeat." The Grand Fleet entered Earth's solar system at the orbit of Neptune. Immediately, their sensors detected the Guardian Fleet's positions near Earth. The distance between them was vast, hours of travel even at high speed. "Perfect," muttered. "They've given us time to prepare our attack. All ships begin advance. Fighter wings deploy for screening. Long-range bombardment vessels prepare to fire on detected installations." The massive fleet began moving inward toward the inner system. They passed Neptune with no resistance. Then Uranus. The Council commanders began to relax. Perhaps Earth's defenses were not as formidable as feared. They crossed the orbit of Saturn, still nothing. Then, as the leading edge of the Grand Fleet reached Jupiter's orbit, Admiral gave a single word of command: illuminate. The trap was sprung. Every hidden weapons platform in Earth's solar system activated simultaneously. Targeting lasers painted every Council ship. Warning alarms screamed on 12,000 bridges as threat indicators lit up like stars. The Grand Fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded by contacts on every side. From the asteroid belt, 2,000 weapons platforms opened fire with precision that seemed impossible. Energy beams and kinetic projectiles streaked across space, each shot calculated by quantum computers that had been planning this battle for decades. Council ships began exploding before they could even respond. From Jupiter's moons, the mass drivers launched. Projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds became unstoppable missiles of kinetic energy. When they struck shields, the shields collapsed. When they struck hulls, entire ships were torn apart. From Saturn's rings, electronic warfare struck the Grand Fleet's communications and targeting systems. Ships lost contact with their command structure. Weapons stopped working. Shields flickered and failed. And from the cloud, the long-range missile pods activated. Thousands of autonomous missiles streaked inward, their quantum guidance systems making them impossible to jam or deflect. On the divine wrath, War Marshal stared at his displays in horror. "This is impossible. How can they have so many weapons?" our intelligence said. "Our intelligence was wrong," his tactical officer shouted. "Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris in this system is armed. We're not fighting a fleet, we're fighting an entire solar system." Captain, commanding the Indomitable from the Guardian Fleet, watched the battle unfold with professional interest. All Guardian ships maintain defensive positions. The Sentinel network is handling the engagement. We are to intercept any vessels that break through the perimeter. But no vessels were breaking through. The Grand Fleet was being systematically destroyed by weapons fire from every direction. Every shot that the Council forces fired in response hit nothing but empty space or hardened installations that shrugged off the damage. War Marshal tried desperately to organize a defense. All ships break formation, scatter and engage individual platforms, use fighter craft to overwhelm their targeting systems. But human quantum computers tracked every ship, every fighter, every missile. The battle wasn't between two forces, it was an execution. Earth's defensive network operated with cold efficiency, eliminating threats with mathematical precision. A Council dreadnought exploded, its reactor breaching in a flash of light that briefly illuminated nearby ships. Another took a kinetic strike that sheared it in half. Fighters launched from carriers only to be eliminated by point defense systems before they could engage targets. The battle raged for 6 hours. 6 hours of systematic destruction. The Grand Fleet, the most powerful military force ever assembled, was being taken apart piece by an enemy they couldn't effectively fight back against. On the divine wrath, now surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet, War Marshal finally accepted reality. His flagship was heavily damaged, systems failing, and the human weapons platforms were still operational. 4,000 ships were destroyed. 3,000 more were crippled and drifting. The survivors were scattered and disorganized. "This is War Marshal to all Council forces," he said, his voice broken. "Cease hostilities. I am surrendering. Repeat, I am surrendering." In Central Command, Admiral watched the Council fleets collapse with no satisfaction. She took no joy in destruction, even when necessary. "Cease fire," she ordered. "Allow surviving vessels to withdraw, but mark every single one with quantum tags. I want to be able to track every Council ship that entered our system." The weapons platforms fell silent. The surviving Council ships, less than half of the original fleet, began limping away from Earth. They left behind thousands of wrecked vessels and hundreds of thousands of dead. The Grand Fleet, sent to humble humanity, had instead been utterly destroyed. President stood beside Admiral, watching the Council forces retreat. Send a message to War Marshal. Tell him that Earth will not pursue his ships. Tell him that we take no pleasure in this victory. And tell him that we hope the galaxy has learned from this tragedy. As the message was sent, the displays in Central Command showed reactions from across the galaxy. Every species, every civilization that had been watching the battle sat in stunned silence. The Grand Fleet, invincible in reputation, had been destroyed, and Earth had done it while barely moving their actual warships. The Forgotten Protector had shown the galaxy its strength, but more importantly, it had shown restraint. Earth could have pursued and destroyed every surviving ship. Instead, they let them go. Ambassador, watching from Prime, understood the message immediately. Earth was saying, "We can destroy you, but we choose not to. We offer you the chance to be better." War Marshal's flagship limped back toward Council space, the warrior inside broken and humiliated. He had learned the hardest lesson of his life, that arrogance and pride are no match for patience and preparation. That 300 years of human planning had defeated the galaxy's greatest fleet in a single day. The Battle of Sol was over, but its consequences were just beginning. The galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the Battle of Sol spread like shockwaves through the galaxy. Within days, the Galactic Council began to collapse. Member species that had contributed ships to the Grand Fleet now faced the reality that those ships were destroyed or crippled. The military power that had kept the Council united for centuries was gone, obliterated in a single engagement. On dozens of worlds, governments fell. Some species declared immediate independence from the Council, no longer willing to follow leadership that had led them to disaster. Others demanded new elections and reforms. A few began negotiating directly with Earth, hoping to establish relationships before the chaos consumed everything. On Prime, the Council chamber was half empty. Many ambassadors had simply stopped attending, recognizing that the institution they had served no longer held real authority. Those who remained faced an impossible situation: how to rebuild when the foundation of their power had been destroyed. Ambassador stood before the diminished council, now appointed as emergency chair by desperate colleagues who saw him as the only leader who had shown wisdom about Earth. He addressed the remaining members with honesty that would have been unthinkable weeks before. "We have fallen," said simply. "Our pride led us to attack a species that wanted only to be left alone. Our arrogance made us ignore warnings and evidence. Our belief in our own superiority brought us to ruin. Now we must decide what comes next. Do we continue clinging to the old ways, or do we accept that the galaxy has changed forever?" The debate that followed was painful but necessary. Some still argued for rebuilding military strength, for eventual revenge against Earth. But these voices grew quieter as more ambassadors spoke of exhaustion, of loss, of the need for something different. Finally made a proposal that shocked many. "I will request a formal meeting with Earth's leadership, not to negotiate surrender but to ask for their vision. They have shown they can destroy us. Let us see if they can also show us a better path." The vote was close, but it passed. Within hours, a message was transmitted toward Earth. The Galactic Council requests a summit to discuss the future of our shared galaxy. We come not as conquerors, but as those who seek to learn. President read the message in her office overlooking Geneva. The city below showed humanity going about their daily lives, many still unaware of how drastically their relationship with the galaxy had changed. She called an emergency session of the Global Assembly. "They're asking for our help," she told the assembled leaders. "The council that dismissed us as extinct, that attacked us with overwhelming force, now wants to talk about building something better." "Can we trust them?" asked one assembly member. "Trust?" smiled sadly. "Not yet, but we can give them a chance. Isn't that what we've been waiting for? The opportunity to show the galaxy there's another way." The assembly debated long into the night. Finally, they agreed. Earth would host the first true galactic summit in centuries, but it would be held on their terms in their location, with their vision guiding the discussions. Send the invitation, ordered. Tell them to come to Geneva. Tell them to come ready to build something new. And tell them that Earth will share its knowledge, but only with those willing to change. Over the next 3 weeks, ships from 100 worlds began arriving at Earth. They came cautiously, still fearful of human weapons. But they came. Ambassadors, scientists, philosophers, and leaders gathered in the carefully restored buildings of Old Geneva, a city that once hosted the United Nations when humanity still thought themselves alone in the universe. The opening ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. President stood before the assembled representatives, her words translated into 100 languages. "Welcome to Earth," she began. "You come to a world that chose isolation 3 centuries ago. We watched you from afar. We studied your civilizations. We learned from both your achievements and your mistakes. And we asked ourselves a question. What can humanity offer the galaxy that it doesn't already have?" She paused, letting the question resonate. "We realized that the galaxy has advanced technology. It has powerful weapons. It has vast empires and complex economies. But what it lacks is wisdom. The wisdom to build civilizations where power serves justice rather than creating it. The wisdom to resolve conflicts through understanding rather than force. The wisdom to measure greatness not by what you can destroy, but by what you can create." The cameras showed faces from 100 worlds, all listening intently. "Earth has spent 3 centuries building that wisdom," continued. "We have created a civilization where billions of humans live in peace not because we are controlled, but because we choose cooperation. Where our technology serves our people rather than dominates them. Where our strength is measured by what we protect, not what we conquer." She gestured to the gathered representatives. "We offer to share what we have learned. Our technology, yes, but more importantly, our experience. How to build societies that value every individual. How to resolve differences without violence. How to create a civilization that can last not centuries but..." The summit lasted 3 weeks. In conference rooms and gardens throughout Geneva, human experts met with alien leaders to discuss everything from governance structures to conflict resolution, from environmental protection to education systems. It was not always easy. Cultural differences caused misunderstandings. Old prejudices created friction, but slowly, painfully, progress was made. One breakthrough came when a delegation from a species that had lost thousands in the Battle of Saul confronted Admiral directly. Their leader, overcome with grief and anger, demanded to know how she could have ordered such destruction. Met their eyes steadily. "Because you came to destroy my world. You brought 12,000 warships to attack my home, to kill my people. I did what any leader would do. I protected those I was sworn to defend." "You could have destroyed us completely," the alien leader said. "Why didn't you?" "Because," replied softly, "we are not interested in revenge. We are interested in survival and, if possible, in building something better. Your people died because of War Marshal's pride, not because we wanted them dead. We took no joy in that battle, and we hope that their sacrifice might lead to a galaxy where such battles are no longer necessary." The alien leader was silent for a long moment. Then slowly they extended a hand in the human gesture of peace. "Teach us," they said. "Teach us how to be better." Similar conversations happened throughout the summit. Slowly, grudgingly, a new vision began to emerge. A galactic council rebuilt on different principles. Not a military alliance that maintained peace through force, but a cooperative framework where species worked together as equals. Where disputes were resolved through mediation, where technology was shared to uplift everyone, where the measure of a civilization was not its weapons but its wisdom. Earth agreed to share some of its technology, but carefully and with conditions. Medical advances that could cure diseases across the galaxy, energy production methods that were clean and sustainable, agricultural techniques that could end hunger on 100 worlds, but military technology remained closely guarded. "We will teach you to build a civilization worth defending," President explained. "But we will not give you the means to conquer others." A new galactic charter was drafted, with Earth holding veto power over military actions. No species could attack another without facing unified opposition. Resources would be shared more equitably. Exploitation of less advanced species was forbidden. It wasn't perfect, compromise never is, but it was a beginning. 3 weeks after the summit began, the new galactic charter was signed by representatives from 70 species. Others would join in the coming months. The old council was dissolved. A new cooperative framework took its place, with Earth serving as both member and guardian. Admiral stood on the observation deck of an orbital station, watching as alien vessels departed Earth, returning home with new ideas and renewed hope. Commander joined her, both women silent for a moment. "Do you think it will work?" asked. "Some species will embrace the changes," replied. "Others will resist. War Marshal survived the battle but lost all authority. He will likely spend the rest of his life plotting revenge. There will be challenges ahead." "But there's hope now," said. "Yes," agreed. "For the first time in centuries, the galaxy has hope for something better than endless cycles of conquest and domination." Below them, Earth turned in its eternal dance, blue and green and beautiful. A world that had chosen patience over aggression, wisdom over pride, and preparation over false confidence. A world that had been forgotten and underestimated, only to emerge when needed most. In the following months, Earth's influence spread. Trade routes opened, bringing human goods and ideas to distant worlds. Cultural exchanges began, with humans learning from alien art and philosophy while sharing their own. Joint scientific projects were launched, combining human innovation with alien expertise. Captain found himself leading a new task force composed of ships from a dozen species. Their mission was to investigate distress calls from the galactic rim, to protect those who could not protect themselves. As his mixed crew worked together, he reflected on the journey humanity had taken. 300 years ago, we were about to destroy ourselves, he told his officers during a briefing. We chose differently. We chose to learn, to grow, to become something better, and when the galaxy needed us, we were ready, not just with weapons but with wisdom. His first officer, an alien from a species that had fought against them at Sol, nodded in agreement. "You gave us a gift," she said. "Not just technology or protection, but an example. You showed us that strength doesn't have to mean domination, that power can serve peace." Smiled, "We're all still learning, but at least we're learning together now." On Earth, President worked in her office, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. There were problems, certainly. Some species still resented human influence. Some worlds struggled with the rapid changes. But overall, the trend was clear. The galaxy was becoming a better place. A communication came through from Ambassador, now serving as the primary liaison between Earth and the new galactic cooperative. "President, I wanted to thank you personally. My species was part of the council that dismissed you, that attacked you. You could have destroyed us. Instead, you taught us." "Why?" Considered the question carefully. "Because, Ambassador, that's what makes us human. We remember our history, both the mistakes and the triumphs. We know what it's like to stand on the edge of destruction and choose survival. We know the cost of pride and the value of humility. And we know that lasting peace cannot be built on fear, but only on mutual respect and understanding. The galaxy owes you a debt that can never be fully repaid," said. "Then pay it forward," replied. "Help build the civilization we've dreamed of. Teach others what you've learned. Be the example for the next generation. That's how humanity will truly succeed, not by dominating the galaxy but by inspiring it." Years later, historians would look back on this moment as the turning point, when humanity emerged from isolation and changed the course of galactic civilization, when the forgotten protector rose not in conquest but in guardianship. when the galaxy learned that true strength comes not from weapons but from wisdom. In the endless darkness between stars, human ships patrolled alongside vessels from 100 worlds. They protected trade routes. They responded to disasters. They stood ready to defend those who could not defend themselves. The Guardian fleet had grown to include guardians from across the galaxy, united in purpose. Admiral, now retired, watched from Earth as reports came in of successful missions, of lives saved, of conflicts resolved peacefully. She thought of her ancestors who had made the choice to hide and prepare, who had built the weapons and defenses that protected humanity when the galaxy came calling, who had done so not from fear, but from hope, hope that one day humanity might emerge to help build something better. That day had come. The forgotten protector had risen, and the galaxy which once watched in fear now watched in hope. The story of humanity's return to the galactic stage was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, conflicts to resolve, misunderstandings to overcome. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had something it had desperately needed, a reason to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. And in the quiet depths of space, human ships stood watch, ready to defend, ready to protect, ready to serve as guardians not just of Earth, but of the dream that all species might one day live together in peace, prosperity, and mutual respect. The forgotten protector had not risen to conquer, it had risen to guide, and the galaxy would never be the same.